Gemini, Ali from Indigo Ascension. Welcome to your Eclipse Transition Series reading now. The ecliptical cycles that we've all been on over the last few years have been significant, and for each zodiac they've fallen within key areas of our lives. Now, 2020 was a crossroads year. Okay, so we're still going to, in many ways, depending on where we're at in our soul ascension journey, okay, the eclipses offer an opportunity to truly eclipse old paradigms, old realities, old version of self, and, you know, a developmental opportunity to walk in towards new realities, new levels of self. So in our very human ways, we can be very one step forward, two steps back, until we sort of deeply release. Yeah, and that's a beautiful part of healing. It's a beautiful part of being an empath, is because we feel everything. We're emotionally connected to old timelines, connections, realities, versions of self, and as much as we can be sensitive and intuit our futures and follow direction and know what is right for us, you know, we'll always come up to that existential crisis point in our timeline where we know it is well and truly time to let go of the past and welcome the new, clouded in all its uncertainty, because it is the unknown that we most fear in many ways. So I wanted to do this for all of the zodiacs because it's going to definitely help understand the transition energies we've all been under across the last couple of years, why 2020 was such a key crossroads and crossover or transition year, if you like, and this energy will point into the energies over the next couple of years as well. So it will help deeply integrate preparedness, if you like, in many ways, if you are super sensitive to cosmic energies, because it's more than just retrogrades, it's more than just full moons. Yeah, we're all affected by cosmic cycles and planetary movements, and ecliptical cycles can tell a much bigger story when it comes to destiny at play. And many of us, you know, we're all well and truly familiar with how realities and circumstances in life can suddenly end, sometimes seemingly out of the blue, but yet on deeper subconscious levels this energy was brewing, i.e., as an example, waking up and going to a job that I claim to hate every day and then suddenly being made redundant, intuitively knowing that there are communication issues within a key connection, and sort of feeling like I'm not making formidable, you know, action steps towards addressing that suits me to help myself come back into balance. It's not about controlling another person. It's not about being guided by the actions or inactions of others. It's about, you know, finding within myself that boundary line that needs to be drawn in the sand, or decisions that need to be made, you know. So I wanted to take a look at the eclipse cycles. Alrighty, so my lovely Geminis, you guys, now let's talk about the first Cancer Capricorn ecliptical cycle. So this spans back to the end of 2017 into 2018, which ended last year in 2020. Now, as many of you know, you guys took over the North Node from Cancer last year in 2020. You guys have been leading the North Node, and I'll say it 1,000 times. When a zodiac sign takes over the North Node, the year prior is always going to be a highly prosperous one. Now, that sounds great, Ali. Why didn't I have an amazing year? Well, when destiny is at play, sometimes it requires higher self to step in, sometimes it requires the divine to step in to clear the path of what ultimately is not part of our destiny or where we are going. Hence those endings, sudden shocks, unable to ignore the necessity for boundary lines anymore can become so intense within us. This also serves a deeper story of retrogrades and how planetary movements really work with the subconscious. Yeah, I mention it a lot in my work now. You know, the average human, apparently, according to science, uses only 10% of their brain. What's that other 90%? What's it driven by? Who drives it? If it's, you know, if we're sort of affected by energy as empaths, we're more than just affected by our own energy. We're also impacted by the energy of others, collective energy. We're impacted by environmental energy, we're impacted by global events, you know, we're impacted by cosmic energy. So it's about really identifying the ways in which life and when it comes to destiny, worked in a very cryptic, very synchronized way when we look back. Okay, but when we're in the thick of things, I will not doubt it can get quite challenging. It can really test our emotional boundaries. It can test our mental capacities to hold space for new perceptions, which can be always really uncomfortable as we welcome new realities, and sometimes we don't want to. So I want to rewind the clock, okay? Because yes, you guys are leading the North Node, and perhaps you've had, you know, this year 2021 will involve quite a few, will involve 2 more eclipses for you guys before we move into you handing over the reins to Taurus to take over the North Node. So there'll be 2 years after this year of eclipses of Taurus and Scorpio. But go back to the end of 2017 into 2020. All right, maybe there were massive shifts. You guys were leading, so Cancer was leading the North Node. This was ultimately affecting your second house of finances, okay, material possessions. Maybe there was a very big reality shake-up, because when the second house gets activated, there could be major lessons when it comes to material possessions. There could be this desire for increasing wealth. Maybe you kicked off careers and noticed that 2018 was some solid movements as far as, you know, what you've got to look forward to. And if you worked with this ecliptical cycle affecting your second house the way it did, you know, while the Cancer was leading a North Node, maybe you notice an amazing increase in finances. Maybe you notice a shift in your desire of how you wanted to acquire for self, because the second house rules material possessions and what I can make of myself outside of what was given to me, outside of old realities where I was being provided for or never really sought that, or whatever the case may be. But like I said, these transits can also sort of shock us into like, goodness, I really need to do something here about forming some plans and making some decisions to put in place so that I'm looking after my long term, looking after self. It's about self provisions when I'm talking about the second house. Subsequently, with Cancer leading the North Node, Capricorn, its zodiac opposite, its zodiac partner, was leading the South Node, and this was affecting your 8th house, Gemini. Now, 8th house is when we get to the depths of intimacy. It rules, so this is from the end of 2017 into 2020. 8th house rules sex, death, and rebirth. Now, when it comes, because it also can rule finances, okay? But not like the second house. The 8th house finances rules other people's money, how we benefit from other people's money, okay? That could be money we receive from an inheritance. That could be money we receive from clients. That could be money we receive from a partner because we're married, okay? Like we notice when 8th house stuff happens in our life, we notice our partner might be receiving benefits or experiencing benefits in their life that ultimately benefit us too. So take it however it resonates. When I'm on this axis of 2nd and 8th house, there's very much a yours versus mine energy going on. So across these years, Gemini, you may have been desiring to move away from, if it was old energies where you were used to, perhaps as an example, being a stay-at-home spouse, benefiting from your spouse's income, you would have desired or would have sought to be able to acquire for self, because you know, with Cancer leading the North Node, it was about what nurtures me. How do I feel nurtured? How do I feel like I can nurture for self, build new foundations? You know, with Cancer, you know, the Cancer energy is very nurturing. You know, maybe we were experiencing very stark realities about how I really need to look after self and take care or build my dreams, focus on my dreams, you know, because Capricorn in your 8th house, Capricorn is the CEO of the Zodiac, and maybe you notice, you know, partners or other people doing well, which would have pointed you to desire the same for self, okay, and led you on this trajectory all the way through to 2020 about what you could truly map out for self. And that could be practical decisions about upskilling, changing industries, doing something for self. So take it however it resonates. Many Geminis would have been benefiting both from other people's money in some way, shape or form, Did I mention that could also include inheritances? But also to, this beneficiary or this energy to acquire for self on some level would have seen you wanting to build second house matters. There would have been a very heavy material focus, being able to pat yourself on the back for all your hard work and what you have built for self. Take it however it resonates. And when we're in that higher vibration of second house energies, we naturally attract in higher vibrations of 8th house energies, where other people's income naturally flow to us, which deeply transforms. So I could receive a lump sum of other people's money. It could have been some sort of a win, some sort of a payout, and it deeply transforms my life by way of second house transits, money, material possessions. You would have noticed an increase. So take it however it resonates, Gemini. That period came to a close, so whatever you did or didn't learn would have reached this bottleneck or crescendo, if you like, around July last year, at the final Cancer eclipse of the cycle. And I think we had another Capricorn one. Goodness me, I should know this. What kind of astrologer are you, Ali? There was another Capricorn eclipse after that, and it may have been August. Okay, why do I think it was later? Because I know that by halfway through the year we kicked off the Gemini Sagittarius. No, Capricorn, Cancer was the last one of the cycle. Capricorn finished prior to July. Okay, so, and then we kicked off you guys in leading the North Node. So like I said, Gem, by the time we lead the North Node, the year prior is a highly prosperous one, naturally, because second house stuff is getting activated. But if we've ignored, like if we did have money lessons, which is what second house can be in its shadow, that last year, if we continued old patterns where we were sort of relying on someone else's money or not making for self or whatever the case may be, when I'm looking at second and 8th house things, by the time you took over the North Node, there would have been major lessons, a bottleneck of energy, okay, as far as enough is enough, I need to make something for self. You would have been feeling this for the majority of the last 6 months of last year. Okay, so maybe you made some breakaway decisions, and that could have been, like, when I look at it synchronistically, when I look at the soul layers, okay, maybe you needed to break away from a key relationship, or you notice a key relationship ending, okay, and so this ultimately forced you into having to make provisions for self, something you've deeply perhaps wanted to act on some level over the last couple of years. But life, as we know, can get comfortable, we can get used to our patterns and routines, and it's not until life pushes us that we make those decisions. Maybe you found yourself having to last year, as you sort of took center stage when it comes to leading the North Node, okay, because it then became about this energy. With you leading the North Node, we then naturally have Sagittarius, which is your opposite on the Zodiac, leading the South Node. You're activating 1st and 7th house energies. 1st house energies is all about self. 7th house energies is all about partnerships and marriage. So in the lead up to June last year, maybe things were starting to come into awareness as you worked with a closing ecliptical cycle of 2nd and 8th house things, because 8th house is also intimacy, rebirth, transformation. Things might have been transforming in your life in the realms of yourself, in the realms of partnerships, before we hit July last year, before we hit June last year, sorry. Which is when your ecliptical cycle kicked off. And the minute you took over the North Node, Gemini, you were leading the 1st house, and Sagittarius was leading the 7th house. Okay, so it automatically comes into this me versus we focus. Many Geminis would have been looking at this concept of 7th house energies. Can certainly be marriage-like partnerships. There would have been an increased focus in that realm of your life, whether you're looking for that, whether you're experiencing challenges in your partnership. Maybe you notice and partnership rules all kinds of partnership, business partnerships, how I partner with my higher self. Maybe many Geminis were noticing after 8th house transits and deeply going and connecting in with intimacy or to me see, in the words of Teal Swan, there was this desire then to really look at the shadow, okay? Because that's 7th, with Sagittarius across the zodiac from you, you guys were activating a lot of shadow work last year and did a lot of deep diving. And when I'm working with first house, when I'm working with self, I'm consequently also working with seventh house energy, which is the shadows, which is opposite me. I'm working with the mirror. What was life mirroring to you? What were you sort of learning about yourself? How were you evolving on first house levels because of partnerships, shifts and changes within your life? For better or worse, okay? We need to clear the dross in order to connect in with destiny, Gemini, and that was maybe you, like now, here I am in February 2021, looking back, maybe you saw some red flags in many ways, like, because with 2nd and 8th house themes kicking off, maybe there were intimacy issues, okay, in the realms of partnership. Maybe there was this desire to create an identity for self outside of a key connection. Really looking at deeper themes there, yeah? As much as it rules money and possessions and 8th house, you know, I can go deeper still with the soul work and really look at things in that regard. And we're starting to look then at patterning when we're activating 1st and 7th house stuff. And this was a lot of what the retrograde energies were infusing us all with last year. And I talked about it in a lot of the YouTube readings and Instagram readings. As we're moving towards this heavy placement of Aquarius energy, which I get it when we were in the thick of things of 2020 last year, being distracted by global events. You've got an astrologer like me going, guys, work with your retrograde energy. It's going to help as far as preventing a bottleneck energy towards the end of the year. It's going to help with trying to create clarity about why things are happening the way they are. You know, especially when we're working with 1st and 7th house energies. I'm talking particularly to Geminis, obviously, because this is a Gemini reading. There would have been deep 12th house energies happening for you naturally before you moved into 1st house energies. Okay, there would have been a big focus on 6th house energies in many ways too, who you are on the daily, what serves you, your health, okay, would have also come into focus in many ways as well. So there would have been a number of things, but it was fundamentally connected to 2nd and 8th house and then 1st and 7th. There was a new way to communicate, a new way to create, and you may have been realizing that over the last couple of years. If you look now on the timeline, standing here and now, look back, destiny was trying to teach you a new way to create for yourself, create a life for yourself, create a new version of yourself, communicate in new ways, okay? Because when we're working with the mirror of 1st and 7th house energies, it's about me, yes, but more so what my shadow is teaching me, what the world is teaching me. And I'm working with the timeline ever after, yeah, going back to childhood in many ways, looking at how I've always felt or not felt supported in partnership, how I best work in partnership, what I need as far as a partner goes, okay? These ideals, values, new boundary lines were being developed for you in many ways, and you are still currently in this energy, Gemini. Up until the end of this year in November, we receive the first Taurus eclipse, which is when you hand your reins over. Okay, so keep working as far as destiny goes, as far as North Node and working with things you've never done before. My strongest suggestion, like I'm just looking at numbers now, 2nd and 1st adds up to 3. How did 2 become 1? Okay, I can apply that theme in partnerships. I can apply that in co-creation, merging my shadow and light, my higher self, my human self, connecting into divine child energies, okay? When the masculine and feminine within me connects and merges, it creates a third energy, a divine child, which is a rebirthing. Many of you are working with rebirthing energy, okay? A whole new level of self. I just got goosebumps. Relevant for a lot of you out there. When I'm looking at 7th and 8th house, I have to avoid in this infinite loop, which is what the 8 represents. Okay, there's this infinite karmic looping that would have been happening. Themes you've noticed in partnerships, themes your relationship to money, because you know what, how we make love is how we make money. There's something here about this energy exchange that needed to shift because of your output, and that's, I will always say, it always comes back to accountability, decision for self, where I'm going to stop doing what I've always done, where I'm going to stop allowing, where I'm not going to action, whatever the case may be. There was this need to pull back into spirit, connect into spirit using 7 energy. 7 is about higher self, higher knowing, the spiritual essence of life. What is life trying to teach me from a spiritual perspective? Why do I keep karmic looping? Okay, so life in many ways in this current transit, ecliptical transit we are in, is teaching you to step back into spirit, to redefine self. This is a number 1 energy. And if you found the last 6 months challenging, you've been in a 0-point field before you entered first house, before you entered this number 1 energy. Number 1 energy is infused with a lot of leadership, a lot of direct guidance. And this is about serving self, okay? After a time perhaps of sort of, you know, trusting in the partner, trusting in the outside world. Like, this is a time, the last 6 months of this year, okay, well, the following 6 months of this year, in the lead up to November specifically, I highly recommend keep connecting into that 7 energy to avoid karmic looping, okay? You will know in yourself, Gemini, when you are making decisions that feel like that uncharted territory, that feel like you are no longer re-looping into old ways, and it strongly connects with 3rd house and number 3 energy. So it's about creativity, it's about communication, it's about creating a 3rd energy outside of my past, my future, and here, okay, connecting into that central core. It's about that new beginning of self. All right, that is your astrology. I do want to take a look at some tarot and some soul cards as well to confirm the 2nd and 8th house themes and 1st and 7th house themes, as well as what the Taurus Scorpio ecliptical cycle will be teaching you, which, like I said earlier, activates from the end of this year within November. Now, that will be activating 12th house stuff for you. A lot of, like, if you thought connecting into higher self as you sort of work, connecting into shadow self, okay, as you're working in this current ecliptical cycle, with every Sagittarian eclipse that happens, it sparks off the opposite end of the zodiac for you. It highlights the shadows. There's something to eclipse from the shadows, any relooping, any patterning, any old beliefs that sort of kept you stagnating in karmic relooping, okay? Then, once Taurus activates the North Node, you are working with 12th house energy. It is our undoing. So life will ask you, are you authentically connecting and using this space now? 2021 is all about authentically and bravely opening up to the new versions of self, new realities, new places, new faces, new risks, okay, in many ways, and stepping into spirit, into that spirit energy of 7 in many ways to create abundance for yourself, working with spirit, working with your higher self, being led by the wisdoms of spirit. Like, we can look back on realities, we can look back on the past. You know, once we go deep in 8th house matters, we can identify as far as this me versus we, if we're working with 1st and 7th house transits after we've done 2nd and 8th house transits, okay? I'm going to say the material focus is long gone in many ways when you're working with these particular themes. This is about getting in touch with core self to create a whole new self from the inside out. All right, where you've come from, where you're going. This theme of honesty, dishonesty, not being honest with self, experiencing dishonesty and deceptions in connections. Where have I been lying to myself about the truth of how I feel, what I want, what my needs are? The honesty card talks about I can't always expect the truth from others, but I can expect it from myself. In many ways, across 2018 into 2020 was a major third eye upgrade, communication upgrade. You may have experienced this theme, like I said. Where did you need to get honest with yourself in 2nd and 8th house matters? Transiting 8th house, we're going deep. We're looking at intimacy. We're looking at deep transformations. Many of you would have been experiencing this soul ascension healing in many ways. where you're headed, where you currently are now. It's all about perseverance. And look at the beautiful upgrade that happens to the third eye. There was this fogginess. When we do our shadow work, which is what you guys have been doing, Jen, a dilution happens. Yeah, look how that, like I know these well and truly love these cards, but look at the dilution that happens. And I've always said this when it comes to color therapies, when it comes to the senses I pick up on when it comes to higher chakras, they are always in these muted. The higher we go, they're more muted. There's even shimmers in them, colors that you can't even sort of label because they're not on our color wheel. But this richness is more so about earth-based density, okay? So the lower 7. And then we go higher still, okay? Many empaths, intuitives, and sensitives are awakening a 12 chakra system. There was massive clearings of third eye, okay? I'm going to say, like, doing that shadow work would have opened up your perception in many ways. And the encouragement certainly is, okay, is to maintain that perseverance, my lovely Geminis, because that's where you're heading, okay? And look what it also does. It upgrades the heart chakra, more important, higher heart chakra. So when it comes to ascension symptoms, maybe you're noticing a lot of activity here. What is the higher heart? It sits in between the heart and the throat chakra, and this is when we're generally communicating our authentic truth, our authentic love, putting boundaries down. Because like I said, you were working with second and first house energies, okay, across the last 4 years. This was about communication, a new way to communicate. And when I talk about Mercury retrograde, for example, which is what we're currently all in, it's not just travel issues and communication issues, okay? It is about communication. So that's why there's this mainstream message out there about dotting your I's, crossing your T's, but let's take it a bit deeper. What is the throat chakra? It releases the energy, that which is within, okay? Because I've got my head, I've got my heart, but am I letting them work together in harmony and releasing that energy, which ultimately is a creation activation? Again, let's rewind back to 2018 into 2020. There was recognition around deep changes that need to happen. Maybe you were experiencing a lot of fortune, a lot of recognition for your skills and ability, okay? You've got the Wheel of Fortune, you've got the Six of Wands, but I'm going to say on a healing level, this is also recognition that change needs to happen, okay? Maybe there were events across your life, okay, that ultimately shifted deep foundations within you, because I'm working with base chakra energy here with this Six of Wands. Maybe you might have been experiencing lackluster within life and your routines and required something as far as excitement, so take it however it resonates. Maybe you were recognizing the changes that needed to happen primarily, is what I do want to say. I'm even going to take you back to the final 6 weeks of that retrograde cycle. The 6 weeks in the lead up, so it would have been your birthday, in the lead up to July last year when we had that Cancer eclipse. Yeah, it would have been your birthday. What was going on for your birthday last year, Gem? Were you recognizing where change needed to happen? So I'll leave that with you. Were you was recognition shifting and changing things for you that helped you identify and firm in this first house energies? Wow, I love this. This represents the cards that are sort of confirming the energies you guys are currently in. You are in first and seventh house energies as Gemini and Sagittarius lead the north and south nodes respectively. This is about separating. You could literally have experienced a separation as soon as you took over the north node, okay? Divorce, separation, karma balancing. Maybe karma began balancing in your life as of July last year in one way or another. Again, this is not a race. This is a soul journey. We are all walking up the same mountain, okay? We just cross paths with the teachers. We are each other's teachers that remind us, yes, keep going, you're on the right track, okay? So again, you could literally have noticed this energy not activate until Libra season last year, which was towards the end of, okay, so end of September, okay, offered some form of a new beginning in many ways, all right, is what I do want to say. I'm even going to say, because this represents our current transit, keep persevering, my lovely Gemini, because there's something. So we're experiencing Mercury retrograde currently in Aquarius. This year, all of the retrogrades are in air signs. The next one is in Libra, which is what's represented by the scales of justice in the tarot. Okay, but this is going to light your fire in some way. Okay, let me just take a quick look. So Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra's your fourth house, all right? So this is home and hearth, back to childhood, new beginnings as far as feeling at home in self. The Libra Mercury retrogrades are going to be activating fourth house energies for you. I know that it's not necessarily covered under this eclipse reading, but I just want you to know, like, keep persevering through, okay? As far as, but I also want to say, the minute you took over the North Node, many Geminis out there would have had this divine fire activated within them, as far as it is now time to balance karma. It is now time, you know, the scales tip in your favor always when they show up for you, Gemini. As painful as things were, perhaps, as confusing as it may have been, this was about destiny bringing you your Ace of Wands, your new beginning, okay? And like I said, when we lead the North Node, it is about clearing that which is not part of destiny. All right? I'm right there with you guys. Like, I'm not a stranger to working with ecliptical cycles. I'm a Cancer Sun, Leo Ascendant, so it was very much in that same period that I'm covering. It was about my personality, my outside self, my reality was being eclipsed in many ways, or experiencing eclipse energy, and then it centered on my core self, okay, as the Cancer Capricorn ecliptical cycle took over. And now, like, I'm a Mars and Mercury Gemini, so how the communication, my truth that I communicate, my drive is now being eclipsed. I'm leading the North Node in all of those, you know. So the last 6 years in very many ways has been huge, okay? So, but we know, okay, that when destiny's at play, it requires us to be brave and face the shadows, and walk with the shadows, walk with our shadow self, to really identify what is no longer requiring to be carried with us. And I'm going to say it once we've finished an ecliptical cycle, there is a major lift and a rise. Alrighty, you guys will close this off. Like, this card represents the Taurus ecliptical cycle kicking off in November. Watch how the sun shines for you. I wouldn't, you know, I'll say it 1,000 times. Bravely work with your shadow self, because you are working with 1st and 7th house energies this year. Yourself, that's what your 1st house is. It's all about you, okay? So this big focus on you, Gemini, will ultimately highlight the shadows, any shadows that still remain. You've done a lot of deep diving already. You'll almost finish your ecliptical cycle. Once it lifts, prosperity is yours, life force is yours. So if you've literally begun a new chapter, keep going, okay? Don't give up. You know, nurture self, connecting with that which makes you feel like it provides you with life force, connections, activities, ways to spend your time. And I'm not going to say stop in November, but there will definitely be something to celebrate if you keep going along this trajectory. All right, and maybe many of you will be experiencing this year, because you are experiencing a lot of 1st house energies. It is about drive. It is about you and your money. It is about you and your singlehood, about you and your self-sufficiency and what you have built for self, okay? You will look back on this year and this journey, and to see how far you have come, and be genuinely proud of yourself. And for many Geminis, after you've done these 1st and 7th house transits, okay, from September this year, this might even be activating as of last September, potential for new love, okay? After a time of heartbreak, the last 3 years has taught you a lot, okay? But more on those in the quick reads as the energy progresses. There's beautiful new beginnings, all right? That's what 2021 offers you. More importantly, at this point in the timeline, when it comes to eclipse energy and the Eclipse transition series that you guys have been working through, a lot of deep diving, Gemini. So be proud of yourself and certainly keep persevering. Okay, hope you got something out of that, my dear. By all means, if you would like to book a personal reading with me, you can check out the details in the description box below. There's also links there to my Instagram page if you'd like to keep up to date with the free Zodiac weekly readings that I do on Instagram, but they also appear here on YouTube, so please do like, share and subscribe. Take care, Gemini. Enjoy the North Node and this powerful ecliptical transition series that we are all under. Take care.